I've got to do something about the way I look.
Welcome to Collecting Audrey. Today we're going to talk about Cecil Beaton. He's a famous photographer and he took some amazing photos of Audrey Hepburn, and I have one of them. We're also going to talk about how to identify a vintage photograph versus something that's non-vintage that may not be worth much.
Cecil Beaton, a cultural polymath of the first water. This man was a diarist par excellence, a decorator, a photographer, a bit of an actor, a socialite, and a real expert on fashion. As a result of his amazing connections, he went to all the right schools. He managed to carve out a career for himself, which was extraordinary.
Cecil Beaton was one of the most celebrated photographers of the 20th century. His iconic images captured everyone from Hollywood greats such as Elizabeth Taylor and Grace Kelly, Marilyn Monroe, to art world legends including Picasso and Francis Bacon. In 1957, Cecil described of Audrey as intelligent and alert, wistful and enthusiastic, frank yet tactful, assured without conceit, and tender without sentimentality. Audrey Hepburn is one of the most refreshing theatrical talents to appear since the war. Add to this the remarkable distinction which she emanates, and is no rash judgment to say she is one of the most interesting public embodiments of our new feminine ideal. And of course, I couldn't agree more. So the silver gelatin I own is a 16 by 20, and it came from the Beaton studio, and it is signed by him in the lower right hand corner. My mat covers that signature up. I've debated about how I want to display that or not, but for now it's covered. And at the bottom you see I have her autograph, a really nice strong signature, and it is JSA certified. So we see here on eBay there's just a range of prices. Somebody has an autographed actual photograph of his for $3,500, and you have like a $12 photo. So how do you know which is real and which is fake? So typically I'll ask the seller to please send me a image of the reverse of the photograph. That way I can identify the markings. If there is a stamp on the back from the photographer, you'll know it's probably authentic. If it has small printing or Kodak, whatever, you typically can see the new photograph images versus the old. So many times these photos that are authentic will have some type of paperwork with them, especially if you get it from like First Dibs or someplace like that. They actually will have a studio stamp on it. Otherwise, you have to look at the photo yourself, and based on your touching of the photograph, the back will have a different tooth than the front. You can assess for yourself if it's real. The final step would be sending it into PSA to get it authenticated as a type 1, 2, 3, or 4 photograph. So one other piece I'll show you today is this gravure print. This was done in 1950 and in England apparently. The gravure is just another style of printing. This is a certificate that came with it. So I really have no way of knowing for sure if it was printed in 1950 in England or if it's just a the photo was taken in 1950 and they printed it since then. Really don't know. And another cool little piece that I'll show you is this Little People magazine from 1952. It even has a centerfold. And I have a pretty good collection of magazines. We'll go over those at some point. And an extra bonus is up there, top right. We'll go over that. That's an original poster from Gigi. That's my second rarest piece, but we'll talk about that some other time.
Film in Londen en toen heb ik de opportuniteit gehad om Gigi te spelen in New York in een theater.
Ja.
En diezelfde jaar heb ik een test gemaakt voor Roman Holiday.